the PM said undoing the damage of the last 10 years would require great speed, but he's not going to table a budget for 6 months. If he's the man with the plan and the guy you hire in a crisis, why won't he table a budget before he goes on summer vacation?
I understand the member of the opposition is very busy. Didn't have a chance to study closely the 100-day plan of the former member from Ottawa, Carleton, which did not include a budget.
What? Ladies and gentlemen, after almost 6 months of shutdown, we are finally back to Parliament and to question period. The only question is how will Mark Carney fare? Let's take a look.
Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome the Prime Minister to his first official question period. This is where democracy lives, and this is where we provide rigorous scrutiny on every word he says and every dollar he spends on behalf of Canadians. Now, let's talk about those words and dollars. During the election campaign, it was elbows up as he put retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. Then secretly, he dropped those tariffs to effectively zero. But he didn't stop there. He told Canadians that the government would collect $20 billion in revenue from those tariffs and use it to cost his platform. Now that those tariffs are going to bring in $0, two quick questions. Why wasn't he honest with Canadians during the election? And how is he going to make up the shortfall? Is he going to borrow it, print it, or tax it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Okay, so as predicted, right out of the gate, the Conservatives are going right after Mark Carney's April 16th order in council, which essentially nullified the Trump tariffs. So very, very evident that they are not going to be giving him any free passes, not that we expected them to, but they are going straight for the jugular, which is exactly what they should be doing, because this was essentially an election lie this whole time. Elbows up, strong against Trump, never going to back down, not for sale. Except the fact that he did back down, and now we know why. Trump stopped all the rhetoric because Carney essentially gave all the American companies a free pass. So let's see what Carney has to say.
Mr. Speaker, may I first thank my constituents from Nepean for giving me the honour of being here. And could you also indulge me to say how great it is to see you in the Speaker's chair, and I trust that you're operating under the period of grace that will not be accorded to me. Appropriately, as the Leader of the Opposition just said. Mr. Speaker, our tariffs have maximum impact on the United States, minimum impact on Canada, and we are dedicating all the revenues from those tariffs to supporting the workers and businesses affected by the unjustified American actions.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Okay, Carney. So he responds by, thanking the people of Nepean, which is fair. That's respectful to do. Thanking the Speaker, which is fair. Asking for more time, which, not surprising, he feels entitled to, which he's not going to get. And essentially says that our tariffs are having maximum impact on the United States and minimum impact on Canadians. Well, again, for the third time, according to Oxford, your tariffs have virtually zero impact on Americans because you provided a blanket exemption to almost all of them. So try again. Tell us another one.
Well, he didn't take long to pick up old Liberal habits of not being able to answer questions. But since the election, Canadians have been inundated with grand rhetoric and pretty speeches from this Liberal Party, but they are still suffering under all those policies. Household debt up at record levels. Number of people who can't pay their mortgages increasing, food bank use continuing to rise. Now TD Bank is forecasting a recession with hundreds of thousands of lost jobs. The PM said undoing the damage of the last 10 years would require great speed, but he's not going to table a budget for 6 months. If he's the man with the plan and the guy you hire in a crisis, why won't he table a budget before he goes on summer vacation?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Okay, I have to say, so far I'm really impressed with Andrew Scheer. Normally he's speaking with a little bit of trepidation, and I don't know if it's, it's probably nerves, but he's coming out firing, very confident, very smooth, and he's getting these questions out like that. So good on him for going after Carney for all of his promises. We're going to do this really quickly. We need action. Well, if your action is going on vacation, then what the heck were you selling Canadians except a promise and a whim that's not going to come to fruition? As Andrew Scheer said, I guess old Liberal habits die hard. When you stand up, you lie to everybody in the House of Commons. I can say that, Andrew Scheer can't, and you won't even answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, I understand the member of the opposition is very busy. Didn't have a chance to study closely the 100-day plan of the former member from Ottawa, Carleton, which did not include a budget. Our plan includes legislating. Our plan includes legislating for one Canadian economy and nation-building projects immediately to grow this economy, and we expect the support from all in this House.
What? He's trying to say that Pierre's plan didn't include a budget? That's because that's a given. It's a complete given. And the main difference, you want to compare Pierre's 100-day plan? Pierre's 100-day plan didn't include going on vacation, buddy. Pierre was very vocal in saying, we're canceling the summer break for Parliament so we can actually get this stuff across the finish line. That's what he promised. And of course, he would have had a budget. Of course, he would have detailed how they're going to pay for these things so Canadians can see, so the media can scrutinize it. That's what that plan was. Are you kidding me? That's your response? Well, we're going to, legislate some things, and we're going to legislate some nation-building products, which you haven't shared with anybody. And if you're serious, if you're actually serious about nation-building projects, nation-building projects typically costs between $10 and $100 billion. And you know what? Canadians deserve to see that in something called a budget.
They must be really afraid to come clean with Canadians if they're going to punt it off into the fall. But, Mr. Speaker, with the throne speech yesterday, Liberals have effectively admitted that it was their policies that caused the suffering for Canadians. Their reckless borrowing and massive deficits caused the inflation. The carbon tax drove up prices and drove away investment. And their anti-development bills chased jobs out of Canada. Now, the Prime Minister is claiming that somehow the Liberals have changed. Well, he has a chance to prove it to Canadians. If he's serious, will he tell Canadians that pipelines are part of his values by repealing Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines bill?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Canada's new government is acting immediately to grow this economy. I just made my maiden speech in this House. Canada's new government, Mr. Speaker, is acting immediately to grow this economy. One Canadian economy out of 13, nation-building projects, one project office, working with the provinces to cooperate. We expect the support from the members opposite.
So I just gave my speech. We're going to have some nation-building projects, and I expect the support. Do you? Do you, Mr. CEO, Mr. Banker? Well, just because you stand up and say, I expect the support, doesn't mean you're going to get it. Again, what nation-building projects? We're waiting. You keep telling us there's nation-building projects coming. You keep saying there's one economy, except for Quebec, because you don't want to talk to them. You don't want to talk to them and tell them this is what you're doing because you went on French TV and said, oh, well, you guys can have veto power, no problem. So it's not 13 economies. What are you talking about? Canadians are waiting with not so bated breath as to what these quote-unquote nation-building projects are.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister campaigned on the slogan, the man with a plan, but the problem is that he's refusing to tell Canadians what that plan is. A budget would have been a plan. The Liberals are going to go over a year without tabling a budget. That's never happened since the 60s. But what we do know is that this Prime Minister is determined to spend even more than Justin Trudeau, and he's refusing to tell Canadians how he intends to spend their money. What is the Prime Minister trying to hide about this Liberal government's finances? Mr. Speaker, the new Canadian government has a plan. It has a daring plan, an ambitious plan to bring together the Canadian economy, have one economy instead of 13, and in order to create new projects to build this great nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the Liberal plan to save Canada. And the plan is that they have a plan. You can't make this stuff up. Maybe if you're a Liberal, you can make this stuff up. But come on, man. You cannot make this stuff up. It's safe to release your plan now, buddy. You're in government. And even now you won't. So yeah, the question is what is so terrible about this plan that you don't want to tell literally anybody? Do your cabinet ministers even know?
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, what I'm seeing in front of me is the same ministers, the same government that's been in place for 10 years. We know the result of 10 years of this Liberal government. And what we have now, yes, is a new Prime Minister, but a Prime Minister with no plan. He said he had one, but he doesn't want to table a budget because he knows perfectly well that his plan is disastrous and that our public finances are in a terrible state. Will this Prime Minister commit to tabling a budget before the summer? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government will act immediately to cut taxes on the middle class by hundreds of dollars for the average family. We will also reduce or remove GST on new home builds. We have a plan, and we will be bringing in that plan immediately.
Ladies and gentlemen, I stand corrected. The Liberal plan is to give Canadians a $400 a year tax cut and reduce the price of new home builds by around $50,000. What a plan. What a plan. Liberal voters, this is what you voted for. $40 a month. Less. I hope you're happy.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago, we were having an election campaign. And during the election campaign, we heard a lot about the threats of Donald Trump. Now, this government brought in retaliatory tariffs against Donald Trump, but then they discreetly took away those tariffs during the campaign. But they didn't say anything about it because they wanted to make sure that Canadians would stay scared. But now we have a $20 billion budget hole, and that's on top of a budget that already had a heavy deficit. Could we finally get a new budget so that we can understand what's going on with our finances? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member across the way must have been referring to the Conservative platform when he talked about the $20 billion deficit. Well, that's all right. Well, Mr. Speaker, we have counter tariffs against the Americans, and they will have maximum impact on the United States while having minimum impact in Canada.
I knew Carney would be bad. I didn't know if he would be this bad. Even Justin Trudeau was giving better answers, even though he wasn't answering the question, than Mark Carney is. What are you talking about, Carney? The $20 billion deficit. Yeah, so the Conservative plan had a scaling roll down of the deficit, and it was far lower than yours in your costed platform. And you're trying to say that the Conservative plan was worse than yours? That's what your implication is? Like, this is unreal. Now, the interesting thing is we've seen Carney in press conferences being posed the same question repeatedly, and he does not like that at all. So this is the interesting thing to notice in question period, because we've confirmed that the questions do not have to be submitted in advance, and that means that you have to think on your feet and rely on your talking points that are pre-written for any of the possible questions that end up coming up. So Carney is being forced to think on his feet, and he's not thinking very well at all. Again, you want to be prime minister, you want to sit in the big chair, as Justin Trudeau says, you got to be prepared to answer the questions, and you're literally answering no questions. But the Conservatives are doing what we anticipated they would do. Hammer him on budget until we actually get a budget. Hammer him on repealing those tariffs in this exemption order in council. And hammer him on Donald Trump and the fear factor. So far, they've checked off all 3 boxes. Carney has checked off 0.
Lakeland.
Yesterday, the PM said Canadians shouldn't focus on pipelines. We'll tell that straight to the hundreds of thousands of workers who lost their jobs when these Liberals killed pipelines, LNG exports to allies, and capped Canadian oil and gas. Last year, 98% of Canadian crude went to the U.S., Canada's biggest customer and competitor, due to these Liberals. But in April, the PM said he won't repeal their No New Pipelines, Never Build Anything unlawful Bill C-69, and ignores premiers and businesses. When will he repeal Bill C-69?
The right Minister for Natural
Resources.
Resources.
Rise in the House for the first time. I wish to thank the people of Markham Thornhill for their trust. I'm also thinking of my family. Who have supported me from day one, and my parents, who I wish were still with us. It's time to get many projects built here in Canada. We will cut red tape, fast-track projects, and approve them within 2 years. We will create jobs for Canadians and build the strongest economy in the G7.
The honourable member for Lakeland.
In 5 years alone, these Liberals killed 16 major energy projects and $176 billion in options to make Canada affordable, safe, self-reliant, and united. And half these ministers, they're the same. These Liberals must kill C-69, but they can't get their story straight. 2 weeks ago, the culture minister said Canada doesn't need more pipelines. Last week, the energy minister talked a good game, but just like right now, won't commit to concrete action. How can Canadians believe anything they say? Will they repeal Bill C-69? Yes or no? Yeah!
Shannon Stubbs is a firecracker, man. She was there in the last Parliament, and I'm glad to see her back, because she doesn't take any business from anybody. So great question from her, and what a crazy answer from Tim Hodgson. Okay, so we're gonna commit to approving things in 2 years. 2 years. Contrast that to what Pierre was promising in the campaign: 6 months. 6 months. And you guys want 2 years? So what you're saying is you're not going to approve anything by the time the next election is going to be called? Oops.
The Prime Minister has been clear. Yes, we will support new pipelines if there is consensus in Canada for them. With American tariffs threatening our economy and threatening our sovereignty, we must protect our energy security. There is no question energy is Canada's power. It will help us build the strongest economy in the G7, guide the world in the right direction, and help us be strong at the negotiating table. We will win this trade war. We will make Canada an energy superpower.
The honourable member for Skeena, Bulkley Valley.
Wow, folks. Is it weird that I kind of miss the old Liberal minister's answers? Is that weird? Or am I just misremembering because it's been half a year since we've been here?
Mr. Speaker, we're seeing two very different narratives on housing, one from the campaign and a very different one from the minister. The new housing minister, the former mayor from Vancouver, who let housing prices go up 179% in just 8 years, is saying something very different. The minister answered a resounding no when he was asked if home prices should come down from their record highs. If he's adamant that prices shouldn't go down, how much does he think that they should go up?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Minister responsible for Pacific Economic Development Canada.
Merci, Monsieur Président. Je suis honoré.
It's an honor for me to be here in the House.
Vancouver, Fraser U, South Burnaby, for giving me the opportunity to represent them here. On the issue of affordability and affordable housing, well, first, I'm very proud to be part of a government that's committed to cutting taxes from day one here in the House. I'm also looking forward to pursuing the most ambitious affordable housing plan in the history of Canada, delivering a GST cut to first-time home buyers and ensuring we bring the development costs down.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, former mayor of Vancouver who increased or oversaw the increase of housing prices there by 179%. I'm proud to be part of a government that stole Pierre's idea of eliminating GST on first-time homebuyers. I'm proud to be a part of that. And proud to be part of building a whole bunch of tiny homes for $70,000 each, which investors are no doubt going to gobble up and sell them at 4 times the price. That's your response.
Housing market is already in chaos. Sellers can't sell and buyers can't buy. It's proving out. Only 310 houses were sold across the entire GTA. That's a staggering 89% below 10-year average. Lower supply, higher prices spells more trouble for Canadians. So instead of building homes and bringing the cost down, he's actually building more bureaucracy. So we know that housing prices went up 179% when he was in charge of housing in Vancouver. How much higher are they going to get when he's in charge of housing for the entire country?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Minister responsible for Pacific Economic Development Canada.
What a zinger by Melissa Lantsman. Gotta love her. She's such a great speaker and she delivers her questions very, very well. That's the question. So if you were this bad at overseeing housing in Vancouver, how bad are you going to be over the whole country? You have some stiff competition. You have Sean Fraser. You have Sean Fraser to compete against. So are you up for the challenge? Canadians hope that you're not. That you're not up for the challenge of being the worst housing minister this country has ever seen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the member, it's not about reducing the value of an individual's home or senior's home. The member may wish to force seniors to sell their homes for less. We're going to focus on building more affordable housing and delivering a cut to the GST to first-time home buyers.
They literally have no plan for anything, folks. Nothing. Nothing. Your plan is the GST cut and build affordable homes. The tiny homes. Well, I guess the good news is that if they have no plan to do anything, nothing bad will get done, I guess. That's the silver lining I'm taking, folks.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands.
Before taking office, the Prime Minister helped establish multi-billion-dollar investment funds that were placed in offshore tax havens. Now, he's shielding those investments from public scrutiny with a blind trust that hides but doesn't remove potential conflicts of interest. Now, Canadians are lined up at food banks in record numbers. They can't pay their rent, but they are paying their taxes, and they want to know if the Prime Minister paid taxes on his investments. So can the Prime Minister, who I welcome here today, confirm that none of the investments that he placed in the blind trust were previously held in offshore tax havens?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, as you know, the Prime Minister has followed all the rules even before they were required. He'll continue complying with all the rules. Opposition members like to distract Canadians with these hypotheticals and conjured scenarios. The fact is we have a Prime Minister, a new government, hard at work at creating opportunity for Canadians, the strongest economy in the G7, and reducing taxes. The opposition don't like that so much, so they dig dirt on day one. Shame on them, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue our work.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Canadians don't want an explanation in how to bend over backwards to fit through ethical loopholes. They want to be reassured that after a decade of serial ethical law breaking, that they can have confidence that the Prime Minister is going above just the basic minimum standard. So the Prime Minister, again, who I welcome to the chamber, can he stand up and just assure Canadians that none of the funds that he had previously were held in offshore tax havens? And can he tell Canadians what those investments were in when he sat at his first cabinet meeting?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, Canada has among the most stringent ethics guidelines in the world. The Prime Minister has complied with those ethics guidelines and surpassed the requirements contained in those ethics guidelines. What the Prime Minister is busy doing is not what this member is busy doing. What the Prime Minister is busy doing is creating opportunity for Canada, standing up in a trade war against the United States, reducing our taxes, building new homes, and creating the strongest economy in the G7. That's what we're up to.
Gotta love Mr. Barrett. He's really, really good at what he does, which is why I'm glad that he remains the ethics critic. And he's right. So, Mr. Carney, can you tell Canadians that you've been paying your Canadian taxes as you're supposed to have been since you've been a Canadian citizen? All these investments that you've had in Brookfield, have you been paying taxes on them? Or were they sitting in offshore accounts? Canadians want to know. We've been paying our taxes for this country. Have you? I think we all know the answer to that, but we're not going to know that until we get the full disclosure, which should happen hopefully very soon. And the response from McKinnon is, well, they're digging up dirt. This isn't dirt. This is what Carney has told us. This is literally what he's told us. And this is literally what we found going through Brookfield's operations. They had these phantom businesses down in Bermuda, which is it's like a one-room office, and this is where they've been holding all their money, so they don't have to pay taxes. And he's trying to say, well, you know, the Prime Minister is busy building homes, building the. He hasn't done anything. And you haven't told us what the plan is. All you've said is, well, we're going to save Canadians about $40 a month, and we're going to be introducing a GST tax cut of $50,000 off of new homes, which you stole from the Conservatives. That's it. That's all you've said that you're going to do. Where's the plan? But, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to stop here, because I think we know what the rest of the answers are going to be. They have no idea what they're doing. No idea. But I guess here's the question. Would you rather the Trudeau government that had very bad ideas and were trying to execute them, or would you rather the Carney government that has no idea what they're doing and no plan at all and is literally doing nothing? That's the question we have to wrestle with.